Hey Jackie,
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
And nice seeing you again after you played Portugal last year.
Yes, yes. That was fabulous. Yeah, I love it. Shame we could only stay there for one gig.
Yeah. How is everything with you? All good?
Yeah, really good. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, very busy.
Well,
That's right.
busy.
That's the way I like it. I'm not going to complain anymore. After COVID, no complaining about being busy, right?
Well, especially when you put in your record, I guess busy is good. When people show interest in the music that you do, I think
Oh,
that's a good thing.
that's a great thing. I mean, the album's been getting rave reviews. Because I'm in two bands. I've got two albums coming out within 2 weeks, and they're both getting really good reviews. So I'm like, I don't know where I am anymore.
And, when it comes to girls' school, 45 years, um, whom would have thought about it?
45 years. It's madness, isn't it, when you think 45 years?
you know, how has that been, all these years, being able to make music and, after so long, still put the record out, as we were saying, getting rave reviews about it and being able to talk about it? Is it crazy? Do you ever thought when you started playing music that, in 45 years' time, you were going to still be talking about it?
Well, that's the thing. When you're a teenager and you're in a band, it's like, wow, I'm in a band. And you think, you're going to be rich and famous by age of 21 and that's it. But when you look at 30-year-olds in music and you think, oh, they're so old, they should quit. So none of us thought we'd still be doing this when we are in our, well, I'm 60 next year, but when we're in our 60s, it's like crazy. It's like, how has this happened 45 years and we're still doing it? I mean, for me, I'm the new girl and I've been in nearly 25 years now.
Yeah.
Known the girl since 95. So it's amazing. Like I've known them 30 years already. It's just incredible how time's gone so quickly. And we just keep putting records out because we enjoy doing it still.
Yeah.
If we stopped enjoying it, we'd stop doing it. Do you know what I mean? And it's showing the music as well. I think you can tell on this album we really had a good time doing it. It was fun.
Yeah, it's important for a band to still put, new music out. I mean, we see, classic bands living on past glories, so to say, and just touring because people want to hear the classics. Obviously, nothing wrong with that. But, for a band like Girlschool, it's still important if you want to go out on tour to have a new album out.
Mm. I mean, it's kind of frustrating in some ways because obviously, as a band, we want to write new material and play new material. But when you're doing like, if you've got an hour set, then it's like you can't miss out Race for the Devil, Emergency, and hit and run, and come on, let's go. And then everyone's like, why didn't you do this one? Why didn't you do? It's like, well, all these studio albums, we've got to, drop something in order to put something in. So we're already having these discussions now when we go on tour again in September. We're like, well, what do we miss out so that we can put a couple of new ones in? It's like, oh no, it's so hard. It's so hard. And people say, why don't you do anything from this album? We say, well, if we did something from each album, we'd be on stage for about 3 or 4 hours every time. It's difficult, but we do want to do some new stuff, obviously.
Yeah, I think it's important. And I was listening to the album. As you were saying, you girls seem to be having a lot of fun doing it, and that passes to the music. Um, writing Songwriting process was an easy process for this album, or still is it difficult to write a song and just
Yeah, I mean, for me, I love writing songs. That's the one thing I really like doing. I wanted to be a songwriter rather than a guitarist originally. It just kind of happened that. But writing it generally because I've got like a home studio upstairs. It's like I generally come up with the ideas for riffs, and then I'll get together with Kim. She'll come up with ideas, and Tracy came up with some ideas in a song, and it just comes together naturally because we know how each other works. We've worked together so long now that we kind of know what to expect from one another, and each one brings their own little thing into the pot, as it were. So yeah, songwriting's fairly easy, really, for us. I think. I mean, we were saying that we were still like writing lyrics as we were in the studio. Kim was walking in to sing a song, and I'm still writing the last line. Go, no, what about this? What about this? So it's kind of funny, but that kind of makes it exciting. I think when you're under pressure,
Yeah.
Because we can't leave everything till the last minute. So we'd had all these riffs, but we've not really worked on them until we've got to go record an album. We better get on with it. So it's kind of nice sometimes to be under pressure. I think the best songs sometimes come out like that because they're not too much, there's not too much thought in them. It's like a feeling rather than overthinking it.
Yeah.
So I like that way. I like that pressure.
I kind of feel like that in work, normally, I know a lot of people don't like the pressure, but I actually do. And
Yeah.
I prefer to have the pressure because I know I'll get shit done.
Yeah, exactly. You get results, don't you? Because you have to do it. And I think that's what happened on the album. I mean, we're one of these bands, we don't labor over an album. We book it for 2 weeks and that's it. We have 14 days. If it ain't done, it ain't done. So we know we've got it's got to be done. So we just get on with it. It's not like, we take 22 hours over one line on a song or something and singing it. You just get in there and get it done and get that feeling. It's more about the energy and the feeling. It's not technical or anything like that. And there's not too much process. I mean, the engineer we've got is brilliant, Tim Hamill. So, we can rely on him to help us out if we get stuck.
With you, does normally the first take is still the best one that you can get?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes it is, yeah. I mean, sometimes you'll listen back and you go, I should have left that first take. But you're right, because it really is, because it's a feel, isn't it? But then sometimes you need a couple of runs just to get the right, because we haven't played them together, any of the songs, none of them. We've not played any songs together. Only me and Kim on Zoom, so I'd recorded things up in my studio and none of us had played it together. So when we got in the studio, we did need a couple of runs through and, just to get it so we knew what we were actually playing. So we have to remember that. I think there's a bridge here. Let's do a bridge here. Yeah. So it's kind of like one take, as it were. But yeah, when it came to putting down the guitars for me, I think I generally do like 3 or 4 takes and, take the best bits from each. Sometimes that works. Sometimes a whole take works. It's just whatever the engineer seems to think, really. You capture something the first time, just leave it.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of the magic when we listen to stuff from the 70s and 80s. And because, the bands wouldn't spend that much time in the studio, they would have probably a couple days a week, maybe, if that much back then. And, it was recorded on tape. It's not like Pro Tools these days where you can just cut stuff and, makes everything easier.
With a razor blade, yeah.
And, that feeling, I think now technology is great, but the vibe that you get from those decades of records, it's really hard to see bands capture it again today. Maybe because they tend to overdo it.
I think so, yeah. When you go in individually, I mean, I love, like you said, the modern technique is great because you're sort of playing sort of click tracks so that you can copy and paste things. If there's tons of harmonies on things for some bands, you can copy and paste it rather than having to do it every time. So there's advantages. But sometimes, getting to play it all together is good fun and getting those takes. But then, you can't swap and change it and chop and pull things around. Whereas in a new song, you think sometimes, like when we did I Spy, for instance, and Tony Iommi put some guitar on it, we'd finished the track on Legacy album. And of course, we thought, we need an extra bit for Tony Iommi. So literally, we chopped 4 bars and just added 4 bars on. You couldn't do that back in the old days unless you got a bit of a razor blade, but then it's just impossible to do, isn't it, back then? So
yeah.
So now there's advantages to it. Now you couldn't do it with razor blades; you'd have no more tracks to have. But so anyway, nowadays you can.
And for this album, what was the first song, or the song that came easier for you when you're writing? You knew right away, okay, this is a great idea. I have, it's going to be like this. It's perfect.
Because like I said, I had a home studio, so I'm like writing all the time. So I generally write like the riffs and things like that. And I'd written a song called "It's a Mess," which I kind of put to both Girlschool and Cyteria. So and both bands liked it, so both bands recorded it, which is quite unusual. So that was kind of the first song we had. Then Kim had "Into the Night," which she'd written years ago with Nick Lashley. And after that, it was like just me and Kim writing riffs and bits and bobs, and they're all just coming together. So I think the first song that was fully really finished was "Bump in the Night," I think. And then, I mean, obviously, Cold Dark Heart had written all the music for that one. Then it was just about putting the words and getting the right melody for that one. Yeah, so yeah, they all come together quite at the same time. Lots of them came together in the studio, to be fair. The bits were there. It was just gluing them all together.
Actually, it's a mess. It's one of the songs that I took note as being one of my favorites on the record.
Oh.
It just just has a great vibe into it, and it's very catchy as well, which is important, I think, in music. So I enjoyed that one a lot. And Are You Ready was written with Joe Stump. You guys did a tour with Alcatraz, so that's probably where the connection came from.
That's right. Yeah, we're on the same record label and the same management. So we've done, I think it's our third or fourth tour with them now. We've just done quite a few because obviously before COVID, we were out on tour with them in the UK.
Yeah.
Then COVID happened, so we didn't get out again, and then we had to come back to the UK and finish off the ones we didn't get to do when we got COVID. So we added a few more to it, and since then we've gone out to Europe. I think people like the package because it's like we're both rock bands, but we're both very different rock bands. We're more sort of like party, yeah, let's go for it. And they're very technical. Joe's an amazing player, so they're a very technical band. And I think the audience like that, a little bit of, diversity in there rather than the same thing all the time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's gone down well live, I think, two bands together. So we got to be friends. So we played, we sang some backing vocals on one of their songs, Don't Get Mad, Get Even, on their last album this year. And we did that while we were on tour. So we decided, we need to have them on our album as well when we record it last December. And of course, they'd all gone back home to America and Scotland and wherever else they live. So we couldn't really do that. So Kim got on the phone and Zoom with Joe, and he wrote us a riff, which is brilliant, So we went in and I recorded his riff and then did the solo. It was all finished. But then we thought, well, we still haven't got them on it. He's written it, but we haven't got anything of them on it. So Joe said he put some guitars over the top of what we'd already done. So that's why it's all twiddly widdly on that one. And won't be doing that like that live for sure. We'll just be doing my bit.
And I actually, speaking of that tour, when you guys played Portugal, I really enjoyed. I think it was a very nice package. And I'm a big fan of Dougie White anyway. And it's always nice to hear him sing because he has a really great voice. And it was a great night. That night that you played, it was, I think no one complained. Everybody left with a smile on their faces, which is the most important thing when you play.
Yeah. That was a great club, that, yeah. Remember, we had to travel all day and it's so hot. But when we got there, it was well worth it. It was a lovely crowd, yeah.
Yeah.
Really
and on this record, you guys have the cover for Born to Raise Hell, which is just, obviously there's a big connection with Girlschool and Motorhead. So, in a way, it made sense. But why, this song in particular for these records?
Well, 45 years, we thought, the connection with Motorhead, like you say, is from the beginning. So we thought, full circle, let's do a Motorhead cover. We're always going to put one cover on the album. So we thought, let's do a Motorhead cover as a sort of bonus track. And it's always hard to find a Motorhead track that hasn't been covered. So I think it was Kim's boyfriend, Carl, who just came up with the idea, let's just do Born to Raise Hell because everybody loves it. It's a real sing-along, real anthemic song. And it kind of suits us as well, Born to Raise Hell. So we thought, we can do that one. So we asked Phil, and he said yes. Biff said yes. And then, of course, Duff was asked, and he loved Girlschool, which we didn't know. So he came along and played bass. He played bass for it. Yeah, brilliant.
And, sometimes when you try to get guests, it's difficult to, try and put schedules together. Was it easy for, the stars aligned for that one?
Technology is quite simple today, isn't it? You don't have to be in the studio with us. I mean, so Duff was on tour with Guns N' Roses, so in Australia, I think it was. So we had to wait for him to come back. We'd finished the album mid-December. And I think Phil did his end of December or something because he's got a studio in Wales, his guitar part. And then Biff did his part. I think he lives in Spain or somewhere now, I don't know. But he did his singing there. And then, of course, when Duff got back off the tour, he did his in America. So you get all these three tracks coming from different parts of the world. So there's where technology really is handy. So when it got finished and mixed, as it were, because we'd done all our parts, because we sort of roughly did it ourselves, and then just got Phil to do the proper guitar and then proper bass and proper vocals, as it were, afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was speaking about the connection with Motorhead. You've been in the band for over 25 years or something. Yeah. And the connection, how did you manage to tour with, I know Girlschool played here, Portugal was 88, I think, the first time.
Yeah.
Probably. But yeah, it was a long time ago.
I think that was my first time actually playing Portugal, I think. Unless I played there before and I was drunk. I can't remember. We've done about 4 tours with Motorhead since I've been in the band. Okay. Usually in the UK, we should do we've done the UK one, which has been like in November, usually when it's cold, typically.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've done it about 4 times and numerous festivals. So yeah, a lot of gigs.
I was being on Lemmy, he was that guy larger than life, stage presence, like the sound of the bass. And I was backstage with him because we only know the man on stage. We don't know how he is behind the scenes. And probably not a lot of people, fan-wise, know how Lemmy was, when he was not on stage.
He used to invite people back. I mean, the super fans, as they were called, they were always backstage hanging out with Lemmy, and he's just like he's just a normal, regular guy. But he's just such a nice guy. He's an intelligent guy. He's a funny guy, great sense of humor. We could someday be talking books, and then other days he'd be taking the mickey out of my accent because I'm from Yorkshire, and do it for a Yorkshireman sketch. So lots of things. We'd be partying with him, or I'd be in his dressing room with Denise playing the slot machine and drinking all his beer and his whiskey, should I say. So, yeah, it was just, it's a great laugh. Yeah, sad loss that was.
Yeah.
We were with them on the very last tour, actually, their 40th anniversary tour. Girlschool and Saxon were on that tour. So we got to play a month with them in Europe. And then we went home for Christmas. And, of course, he died at Christmas. So we didn't get to do the further month out in Scandinavia and other countries, so we didn't do that last month of the tour.
Yeah, we're coming to that stage where we're getting old, all of us. There's we cannot get away from it.
Old in here, but old in the body. Yeah.
But when we imagine a world like we lost Dio, we lost Lemmy, and like we still have Iron Maiden, we still have Saxon. We still have Judas Priest, we still have Metallica, but how is the world? And we still have Girlschool.
We refuse to go away.
When we look at the future, and when you look at the future with new bands, whom do you think could take, that slot that you got?
But obviously, Phil Campbell's flying the flag there with his sons. That's great that he's done that. And we're all kind of in side projects, but I know what you mean. It's like finding the next replacements. Because a lot of bands now, it's they're finding it hard to get to maintain what they have. Like the bands reach a certain level, but there's no development deals anymore. There's no real support. And because there's no money in music anymore, bands are just splitting up. They get to a certain level and realize there's nowhere else to go, and they're just splitting up. And I've seen a lot of bands, a few bands get up there and you think, yeah, they're going to be the next. And then they just split up. And it's like, whoa, this is mental. Keep at it, guys, keep at it. But, there's no support there. People on Facebook, in theory, they look like they're doing well and they're selling lots of records, but nobody's going to the gigs.
Yeah.
It's quite tough out there for new bands, I think, right now. It's a different world to when bands started in the 80s. It's a completely different world because of Spotify and all these like download things. You're talking 20,000 downloads equals like £10, which is a shirt at a gig. Yeah. So bands are surviving literally on their merch sales, on tour. That's what's paying for everything.
And, back in the 80s, bands would have to, they would tour a lot. They would grind their way. They would play. They would do the club circuit. They would own their craft by playing a lot, But there seems to be an issue these days, especially after the pandemic, where a lot of clubs have closed down. So it becomes increasingly difficult for newer bands to actually have a stage to play on and showcase their efforts.
It's go from pub right up to arenas, doesn't it? And all the middle ones are missing out. And again, it's kind of expensive to tour now because unless you're selling a lot of merch, you've got double the price of petrol. I remember when we came back out of COVID and we had that European tour, we were really, seeing the difference in prices because we had two splitter vans, one with Alcatraz and one with Girlschool with all the gear and everything. And it was like double the price of petrol, which hadn't been factored in, and then double the prices of hotels per room. So you got like 14 hotel rooms, which were £50, now they're 100. It's like, it's gone mad. So you couldn't really factor all that in. So new bands, if we struggled, I can only imagine how new bands struggle. And of course, Brexit for Britain has been the worst thing ever because now we've got to pay tax in every country we play as well as tax here. So straight away, every band has had to put up their prices. So we're kind of pricing ourselves out. So people aren't booking you as much. So it's like a little spiral, you can't tour as much as you want to. We would be out all the time touring. Just can't afford to because it's costing us money to tour. To go to America, you got visas. To go now in some European, luckily they've changed it a little bit with they've relaxed it a little bit in Europe, but we're still paying taxes. And it's kind of got crazy. So I can see new bands trying to break through are going to struggle unless they can sell a lot of merchandise. They're really going to struggle.
Yeah. And, one of the trends these days when you're on social media, you see, like in pop artists, stuff being thrown at them, like mobile phones, water. I recently was Cardi B. She was thrown some liquid and then she threw the microphone. And she was still singing. I don't know how she did that, but again, we talked about technology and stuff like that. But back in the day, I know the crowds were wild. You talk about the 80s, there was like very crazy shit going on. When you were playing, were you ever thrown anything when you're playing on stage? Did that ever happen to you?
We've been quite lucky there. No, we've had nothing horrible thrown at us. We were on a cruise ship once playing. We were doing some festival on a ship, and we were the last band on, and we were just pulling into the port, and all of a sudden, a lot of underpants appeared. There were like a couple of guys just in the middle lights, couldn't see anything. Me and Kim were just like playing away and singing away, and all of a sudden, this underpants landed on the microphone stand. It's like, oh my God, people throwing dirty undies at us now. So that was kind of a memorable thing to be able to throw at us. Yeah. I've had obviously drinks given to me on stage and things like that, but nothing horrible. No, we've been quite lucky there, I think.
How do you see this phenomenon that's happening then? The lack of respect in a way for the artist. You might not, like, if you don't like a band, you just don't go. Like, I remember here, many, many years ago when Nickelback were playing for the first time in a festival, they were throwing rocks at them. And they left the stage after the second song, obviously, and they didn't come back. And, the lack of respect people have, like if you don't want to see an artist, go to the bar, go have a drink, go to the bathroom, go whatever.
Couldn't agree more. It's like when people say, "Oh, they were absolute rubbish." Why did you stay if you didn't like them? If you didn't go to see it, why did you go see them if you didn't like them? Or why are you staying there if you didn't like them? But yeah, a band's doing the thing. If it's not your thing, don't throw rocks at them. That's just it's a bit dangerous as well. Let's face it. I remember years ago I went to a festival and Meatloaf was playing. I think Reading Festival in Leeds, Reading Reading itself, Reading Leeds, and somebody threw. That was the days when they used to throw the bottled water, and they're like it was covered. It's full of urine, so it used to spin around in the air, which was kind of funny. But when it hit the microphone, it hit his nose and it busted his nose. So he went off. So halfway through Bat Out of Hell, he went off. And it was like, that ruined it for 20,000 people what were there when it was a small festival back then. It's massive now, but 20,000 people just waiting for this one song they love. And some idiot throws a bottle and it busts his nose. So of course he's going to go off. He can't carry on singing with a bust nose. So crazy. So,
crazy. And, when we hear bands like using like the backing tracks, do you ever see that in rock and roll happening? When I mean rock and roll, I mean proper rock and roll.
Yeah, I have seen. I couldn't tell you who, but I have seen it, and I thought, hang on a minute, he's not even playing that guitar solo. This was in the sound check, though, I must admit. And I thought, right. So when I watched them live, I thought that's really bad because he's not even playing that solo. It's all on tape. I won't tell you guys because that won't be right.
But
But yeah, I've seen it a few
is
times
it
as well.
is it weird, when you see those things happening, especially coming from old school, where, you would have to play with a bad sound, with whatever was happening, rain, shine, heat, cold. When you see that, does that, what's your perspective on that?
Well, this is what it is. It's a new day. It's a new era. This is it. It is what it is, as we say on the record. As long as we do our thing, we're happy with our thing. If people like us and they say watch us, then brilliant. If that's your bag, you want every harmony on the record to hear it all, or you want every single solo to be exactly the same every time, then that's your bag. Then that you don't come and see Girlschool because that ain't gonna happen. But yeah, I think it's good to make mistakes on stage. It's good to have it a little bit raw on stage rather than exactly like the records to,
Yeah.
Every single backing vocal and every single chord that you played, whatever, and solo note for note. People
Yeah,
want to see you play, they want to see or hear the songs and sing along.
yeah, because I remember listening to Jimi Hendrix live, Jimmy Page with Led Zeppelin, and it wasn't perfect, but you could feel the moment that was happening.
Feel, isn't it? That's it. I'd rather watch a terrible punk band who can't play, but have that energy and play well, play well enough to enjoy it, but just enjoy it themselves, than see a band who's absolutely note for note perfect and bored out of their own brains. I mean, looking at the floor going, perfection. That's just dull for me. I mean, obviously, each to their own. Again, some people would love to go see stuff like that, and they
Yeah.
sit and pay hundreds and thousands of pounds to go see things like that. But not for me. Give me it raw any day.
Yeah, I like, I don't mind watching prog bands playing, those 20-minute epics, perfectly right on the money, as they say. But you cannot beat the energy of a rock and roll show. It's in your face, it's sweaty, it's loud, and you leave with a freaking grin after the show. That's the best feeling you can get.
Couldn't agree more.
Jackie, before we go, you girls are touring September. What are the plans for the rest of the year and maybe 2024?
Well, so far it looks like we're going to South America in September. Then the plan is to go to America in November, all being well with visas and the usual stuff. And again, we'll probably do something else in the UK beginning of next year, and then hopefully Europe again. So, because obviously we'll be celebrating the 45th anniversary from March to March or April to April, which whenever it started. It's not the usual January like most bands. So yeah, we'll probably continue promoting this album for quite some time. And I guess one day we'll write another one.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well,
might take years again though, like this one.
Well, we'll be here when you girls make the next one anyway. So we always like to listen to good records. Jackie, thank you very much for your time. All the best for Girlschool. Hope to see you girls back in Portugal soon. So
Okay.
fingers crossed. And have a great day. Enjoy your tea and hope to see you soon. All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.